Hi, I'm Meredith Blackwell, and Don Pfister and I are interviewing people for the Oral History of Mycology project. We're at the University of Florida campus for the Mycological Society of America meeting, and we're in a Hilton hotel at the edge of the campus. And the date today is the 13th of July, 2022. And so we will introduce Don.
Thank you, Meredith.
Don Pfister.
Yes.
And then Kate will introduce herself, and she will tell where she is and what she's doing. Start out. And Don has more to add. He wants to know where you were born.
Well, you know, how you got into fungi and the projects that you're working on and that kind of thing.
Yeah, my name's Kate Hickman, and I'm currently finishing my undergraduate degree at Utah Valley University. I work with Dr. Jeffrey Zahn. I came to fungi through plants. I have a long and deep love of nature. I grew up in the forest and spent most of my time outside as a child.
Where was it?
I grew up in Missouri, Sedalia, Missouri. So everything's green and fungi abound. and so I was doing my undergraduate and studying something else. And I just found that all the time that I spent enjoying myself, I was outside learning about different species. Mostly they were plants. And then as I began to learn about plants, I had this realization of something that I had been taught but never internalized, and that's that fungi aren't plants. And I found that to be really interesting. And then I learned about mycorrhizal networks, and I just couldn't take it anymore. I had to just switch my life love. And so I began to learn about how complicated and how involved fungal relationships with everything else are, and that we all really ultimately depend on fungi. And so I decided that was what I wanted to study. Mm-hmm. And then I found Jeffrey because he's the only mycologist at my school. And right now we're working on several projects. But the one that I've been doing research on is an assessment of mangrove microbiomes.
You're in Missouri? No.
I'm in Utah now.
You're in Utah. That's just as far away.
Yeah, and very far away from mangroves. And so, yeah, it's been a bit of a collaborative project. I get to do bioinformatics, but I also get to do community assembly and ecology and fungi. And so it's.
Have you been able to visit a mangrove forest?
Not for the research project, but I spent 6 months living in Guinea-Bissau, which is West Africa. Yeah. And they have so many mangroves. That was my first introduction before I even knew really what fungi were. And I was just totally amazed that trees could live in salty water. I didn't understand how that worked.
So how did you come to be in Western Africa?
Yeah, so I had this amazing mentor. His name is Dr. Michael Minch, and he studies peace and justice studies. And he had another student, Makote Ambrosio, who's Guinean, but he came to Utah for his education. And I met him. My mentor connected the two of us because Makote was starting a community college in Guinea-Bissau to teach computer skills, business, and English to kind of boost the local economy because it could use a little bit of boosting. And so I was the first teacher at the school. I helped him finish painting the walls and store the desks. And
what a great experience!
It was wonderful. I think I learned more from them than they learned from me, but it was awesome.
Yeah. Who was sponsoring it? Where was the money coming from?
Yeah, so the money, there wasn't a lot of it. One of the foundations at the University of Utah provided some money. A little bit of the funding came from Utah Valley University, and then I think that he had some private donors, people who were friends or who believed in the cause. He's currently getting involved in the political system there, and hopefully if he gains a little bit of political power, he can allocate more money toward education systems.
Good way to do it.
So has it been successful? Still going? the school?
It's still going. It's been struggling because part of the appeal of this particular school is that he's bringing in native English speakers to teach, because a lot of the English that's taught in Guinea-Bissau is taught from people who speak it as a second or third or fourth language. And so he's been having a hard time getting particularly Americans to come, and that's because Guinea-Bissau has kind of harsh living conditions. When I was living there, we had running water once every couple of weeks, electricity once every couple of weeks. And so it can be a bit of an adjustment.
You can't be teaching with PowerPoints very often.
Nope.
So do you know any mycologists that visit that part of the world? I know Kathy Aim, who's at Purdue, had some projects in Western Africa and along with Terry.
I don't personally know anyone who has done any fungal research in that area, particularly in Guinea-Bissau, which is one of the reasons that I'm so excited about mangroves, is because I feel like if I can learn about the system better and potentially understand how to improve transplantation strategies, which is a bit of the inspiration for our research, then I can take that knowledge to Guinea-Bissau and produce research there, or engage the community in research, which I think would be really exciting for a lot of the people who live there, because in the rural parts, they depend a lot on foraging. And I have no doubt that there is a plethora of species of fungi that interact with the community regularly, and they probably have a lot to say about. And so I think it'd be great, and something that I would love to do is, to kind of be someone who allows other people to see that that is a part of Guinea-Bissau, and help them to document it in whatever way they want to.
I met a mycologist from it was Nigeria, I believe, but he actually had a government job working with people, showing them how to cultivate mushrooms and also forage for them. And I know he was interested in the ones that grow in the termite mounds. Are they in?
Oh my goodness, they are massive. They call them boga bogas. I had one growing in my room when I was living there. They're 15 feet tall. They're everywhere.
Oh, the termite mounds.
mounds.
Okay.
Yeah, have you seen the fungi on the? Have you seen the fungi that fruit on the termite mound?
I haven't. I didn't know.
No, they're very important. And
I've seen movies where people are harvesting termites and then they're grabbing mushrooms a little later. But they come up after the termites leave.
I'm not completely sure with those. Certainly they're ongoing, and they show up in markets and so forth as a
the
commodity.
termites actually grow the fungi.
Yeah, and it's symbiosis. And then once the termite mounds are abandoned, you get these fruitings of those fungi, Termatomyces, and others.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I think there's some silarias that are very
those
specific.
come in later. There are a number of things that come in.
So next time you go, you can look for these too.
But they are a market crop, the fungi.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen definitely some specimens that they sell in the markets. I had no idea that they grew on termite mounds.
Well, maybe
just a few species. It's they're fairly specific.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that'd be so neat. And of all the places in the world, when you look at distribution maps of fungi, there's usually nothing, no spots on Africa.
Africa's very poorly studied.
Yeah.
So tell us about the mangroves and what you're doing.
Yeah, so we're working kind of collaboratively with the National University of Singapore. They have a lab out there that does community assembly and some bioinformatics on mangroves. They're the ones who collected the samples initially and processed them. So we're working with the same raw data. It's Lee et al. They have 2 papers from 2019 and 2020, and we're using the same samples from those papers. They focused really heavily on fungal diversity and kind of alluded to maybe some of the roles that microbial fungi play in the mangrove microbiome. And so we're trying to round out that analysis a little more with a bacterial perspective. So we ran the raw samples looking for like using the 16S gene to kind of differentiate bacteria, and are looking at community assembly and hoping that we can kind of derive maybe community dynamics from that through co-occurrence analyses, where are specific species of fungi and bacteria showing up together, and what might they be doing to help or to hinder parts of the mangrove life cycle. Ultimately, I think we're hoping to produce some knowledge that can be useful in improving transplantation strategies that utilize inoculation. Because right now there's not too much of that going on, and transplantation strategies have not been very successful. And we think that it might be because they're not inoculating the seedlings with the proper bacteria or fungi.
Yeah, and those mangrove swamp areas are in decline in much of the world. Yeah.
Right. Being deforested and developed, and so yeah, that's the question I think that inspired a lot of the research that we're doing is how can we aid conservation efforts to improve mangrove.
When do you finish your degree?
I'll be finished with my bachelor's at the end of next year. It's a Bachelor of Science in Bioinformatics.
And then what?
Yeah.
I'm actively on the hunt for graduate programs right now.
You're in the right place. You're going to stay with fungi.
Yeah, I do. I very much do.
Yeah. You ought to get them to write you up as one of the, they feature students in the newsletter.
Yeah, I got them to put me in the newsletter a couple of months ago.
Oh, great. I must not have read the whole newsletter. Oh.
That's okay.
Did you say you were looking for a place to go to school?
I don't know if I said that in the newsletter, but I guess I should have.
Well, you could put an ad on some of the, on the newsletter. I'd go ahead and put an ad.
Yeah.
Say, I'm looking for a good place. Here's my background.
Yeah.
There are probably better ways to do it.
Yeah, well, looking around, seeing what labs are doing the kind of work that you're interested in, and then reaching out to them.
And you probably don't necessarily have to stay with mangroves, or do you want to?
I really like mangroves because they allow me to study plants, bacteria, fungi, aquatic ecology, and even like some cultural and social dynamics as well. However, I understand you can't always be too picky when you're looking for a graduate lab. So I think that I will always have an interest in mangroves, and if I could pursue that in a graduate lab, that would be amazing. But I also am like a jack of all trades, and so I'm interested in probably too many things.
Well, if you can't, you might go back later, but I think it's important to look at a whole realm of things before you pick a school.
Yeah.
And a faculty member to work with you.
Right.
Yeah. So, you thought you wouldn't have anything to tell us. You had a lot.
Yeah.
We've had no one talk about Africa.
Really?
Not here. We have interviewed one student from Africa at the Minnesota, the international meeting.
I don't know.
But he's at Purdue. There's a lab there that is kind of like a little UN.
Oh, wow. That's really great.
No, but it was great. I'm glad you did this.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for interviewing me.